Random House Audio presents The Gift of Fire, read for you by Beresford Bennett, and On the Head of a Pin, read for you by Dominic Hoffman. Two short novels from Crosstown to Oblivion by Walter Mosley. The Gift of Fire, read for you by Beresford Bennett. Part 1. Prologue. The eagle had already gouged out his belly when lightning struck metal at early dawn, and Prometheus, golden-skinned, curly-haired, brown-eyed son of the Mediterranean spirit, slipped his chains, gathered his intestines up in his left hand, and made his way clambering down the mountain path, that long-forgotten trail that once connected gods and men and titans. Behind him, he could hear the ravenous eagle crying out for blood. Every day for 3,000 years, the hungry bird ate his liver, leaving him at night so that the organs and flesh and broken bones grew and knit back together, befitting his immortal nature. In spring, the hideous fowl brought his chicks to peck and pull at the cords of skin and meat. Every bite and tug sent agony through the beautiful Titan's frame, racking him in agony, leaving him spent and yet unable to die. Crying, he ran down in the shadow of overhanging rocks and trees. He ran, muttering to himself, "I have not yet finished. The gift of the gods is incomplete." His father, Iapetus, or his mother, Clymene of the ocean, if they had seen their son, would have told him to forget his quest, to go to some peaceful place, maybe the Elysian fields, and hide from the vengeance of the gods. Hiding was the only escape. Even his brother Atlas did not have the strength to defy Zeus and his heavenly host. Prometheus sorely missed his mother and brother, his father and other siblings, but he had gone mad chained to that rock, tortured by the evil bird and the god-king's curse. He wanted to hide, to be soothed from the suffering that had been brought down upon him, but he could not forget the job left undone, his misery and man's. "Run away," he said to himself. "Hide down under the earth where Pluto might protect you. Dive down under the ocean of the gods and beg Neptune to hide you." "No," he said then. "I will not cower and beg as I have done for all these centuries. I will not bend my knee, lower my head, or forget my mission. May the gods choke on the caprice of their actions. May they die upon their hallowed mount, forgotten in the minds of their minions." And while the eagle wheeled in the sky, the diminished Titan made his way under shadow of leaf and cover of night until he was away from the land of the gods, arriving where everything is mortal and anyone, even a god, can die. He found himself upon a hilltop. To his right rolled the waves of a great ocean, and to his left sprawled a mortal city, with its temporary structures and its people who lived and died without suspicion of the knowledge that they partially comprehended but never knew. The smell of their smoke and feces filled his nostrils and burned his eyes. It was ever this way when gods and titans mingled among humans. Mortals were like animals to those of the higher planes, snuffling and snorting and spraying urine to mark their domain. Los Angeles was to Prometheus like a dunghill is to a swan, dirty and diseased, stinking of mortality, and yet these were the fallow grounds for the possibility of life. 1. His clothes were bloody and dirty from talon and beak and the mad dash from heaven. no one would seek him on earth because there was no godhood here. Zeus could die as any housefly or beached mackerel or whale. Ares, god of war, could fall on a mortal battlefield. There was no reincarnation, no rising from the dead for the old gods. Time on earth was immutable, and the stench was what life had to have before it could descend. "Hey, you!" a man's voice called. The language was strange to the Titan, but its meaning was clear. The man who addressed him was in a horseless carriage that smelled sour and poisonous. The metal vehicle was black and white, while the uniforms that both men wore were black alone. "Yes," Prometheus replied in the old tongue. The soldiers, or maybe city guardsmen, climbed out of thick metal doors grasping long black sticks. "You drunk, pal?" one of them said. Gazing into the fire of the pale-skinned man's mind, the immortal saw the word for the grape and smiled. He nodded, thinking that maybe they were offering him a bladder for drink. "What happened to your clothes, buddy?" the other man, policeman, asked. Looking down, Prometheus saw that his tunic, hand-sewn by his mother, was tattered, torn, and filthy. His manhood showed through the tears, and the little men of earth seemed to be made shy by this. "I bring you the gift of fire," he said, still speaking the old tongue, the language of sand and sea. "Cover yourself up," the pale-skinned policeman on the left commanded. Reaching into his soul with his mind as a mortal man might open his purse, Prometheus found the second fire, the flame that would connect the human mind with the realm above. He found the small, flickering, opalescent thing, tiny as a blade of grass that stood alone on a vast and desolate plain that had been a forest, now sundered and razed. This tiny fire was not matter or heat or anything that human senses had ever perceived. It was the fount of godly thought, and not even many Olympians knew of it. The flame was small and weak, leaping from the scorched firmament so as not to be doused by the devastation. It was almost dead. All those years, chained and tortured, were designed to completely destroy the Titan Prometheus, not only his life, but his ability to know. The policeman had flanked him, but the 7-foot giant of Mediterranean and African perfection did not heed their strange words. Instead, he climbed into himself, in his mind, and hunkered down around the last wavering glimmer of what made him who he was and what he was. He sang the Psalm of Awakening, taught to him by Cronus near the river Styx in his youth. It was the story of a ram named Ericles who, each day, climbed up from the depths of the world with a bell tied to his tail. The tinkling sound of the 10 bell was what the sun needed to find her way back into the sky. It was a deadly song. When the gods sang, they put their souls into the music and the words. Lovers had died from godly music. Wars had been waged for 100 years over the immortal use of pipe and poem. And here on earth, Prometheus risked the final death by singing to the last shimmering vestige of his godhood. He was gone from the external world, singing, exhorting the gift to survive. He didn't feel the policemen grapple him, trying to wrestle him to the ground. He didn't hear their threats or feel the blows of their nightsticks. The song of Cronus was in him now. Inside, his soul was a world that no human could comprehend, not yet. He squatted down on a plain made desolate by centuries of suffering at the hands of the gods. All that was left was this tiny sparkle like the last reflection of the sun before nightfall on one small rise in the sea. As the policeman beat his body to the ground, he sang.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?